Hi and welcome to this tutorial. In this tutorial we will talk about Flexbox. So Flexbox basically in a nutshell is a kind of a CSS property that is used to control the alignment of items on the screen, whether they are how they are vertically aligned, how they should be horizontally aligned. Basically using Flexbox you can control how your items display on the screen. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to use some code snippets. I hope you have these already installed as they're quite famous. I'm using prettier code formatter and something called auto tag rename, something like that, that is automatically displaying this to me. So let's name this document Flexbox document. If you don't have them, you can manually type it or you can ask me in the comment below and I will let you know. So now let's create two divs. One is a parent div and one will be a child div. The parent div, we need more than one child div obviously, so let's create now child divs. So there's a cool trick, items, and let's name each items. How about 5 items? uh, let's name each item with a number. Cool, right? So now we have a container which is the parent class, and then we have several child classes which are called items. So basically in a Flexbox the parent is called the container, and the items inside the parent that are grouped together by the container, they are called children classes. Here any other tag can be used as well instead of a div class. You could have also used maybe ULLI property tags. They are often used in the same way as well. But I prefer the traditional way of just using the div classes, the way which we are using here, using the div tags. I mean, not classes but tags, div tags. So there are different properties for Flex and each one has a different purpose, but they are all used for some kind of alignment, whether it is vertical or horizontal alignment. That is Flex in a nutshell. So we will dive into each of these properties separately, but for now, beginning with the most common display, we are going to display property, we are going to use display Flex. So let's first run it in a live server. Okay, so it's working. We have our items right here. So basically how this div works is that it is a block level tag. So basically each element inside a div takes its own line of space. So one has a different line space, one has two has another line space, three has another, and so on. So each element inside a div will have a separate line space because it is a block level element div. So let's take up the items and give them a background color maybe purple, and okay, now we have a purple color here, and let's give them a width 100 pixel and some padding 20 pixel. Let's save it. Okay, so it's looking better. And color white, and let's give it margin from each other as well. Margin maybe 10 pixels. So now we will have some space underneath and in the left as well. And let's give the container also some properties. Maybe a background color would be nice, background color, and maybe Rebecca purple. I don't know how will it work. No, it's not looking good. Maybe let's give this purple and this one a lighter purple shade, maybe something like that. Okay, now it's better, but let's give it some padding here. Padding 20 pixel maybe. Okay, now it's looking good. So now we can apply our flex properties. So as we can see, our items are aligned here vertically. They are in the same column and different rows. So they're aligned vertically. So what flex display will do is it will align the items horizontally if it is not used with any other attribute. So if we use just flex display here, property display flex, it will align the items horizontally on the screen. So let's see. what happens now. So as you can see, they are aligned horizontally on the screen. So basically the display flex property works with another property called flex direction. So if the direction is column wise, then it will display vertically as it was displaying before, but that before was without the use of flex actually. But if we use flex, we get more added benefits of using the flex. So if we put column here, it will function the same as before. So as you can see, it is same as before. But if we put nothing here, then it will align them horizontally. So basically what happens is that by default we have the row property given here. So if we use the row, nothing is happening, it's the same, because by default we are using that same property already. So we have a bit of a problem here. Let's first give our item some height and width, and then I will explain the problem. So this is our item, so let's give it a height of 50 pixel maybe. So let's see, no, 100 pixel. Okay, this is good. And let's maybe give it some width as well, 200 pixel width. Okay, so I'm still not too happy with the height. How about 250 pixel? Okay, yeah, this is good. Okay, so I was explaining the problem. So imagine we have a picture here inside each of these items. Here we have a picture of something, here we have a picture of something. So if we are using on mobile view, you see the picture would get too distorted. It would not make sense for arrow of this arrow. This doesn't look good. So we want to have a fixed size, maybe because we want to have our pictures and some descriptions of the product. So this is not working good. So let's use another property of flex. So basically flex wrap has two properties, no wrap and wrap. So by default no wrap property is used, but if we wrap it, then it will look good. So basically each item, if the screen size is bigger, then each item will get wrapped up to the next level. So here we can see, if we resize it, and then the 5 gets further down, and now after 3 if we resize it further, and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5. So basically it works that way. Let's now talk about another property of flex that we also talked about a bit earlier as well. So let's talk about flex direction property. It also belongs to the container type, the display flex, the flex wrap or no wrap, which is given by default, and the flex direction. They are all property for the parent container class, not the child class, the items class. It does not belong there, it only belongs in the parent container class. So flex direction, it can be either row or column. So we talked about that by default it is the row attribute, so nothing is changing here. But what happens if we give it the column attribute? So now we see that our items are aligned vertically as we would expect it to be. There are also two more properties that I want to talk about. The row reverse. So basically it aligns items in a reverse manner horizontally. So it's still first let's compare it by first showing. So we have 1 2 3 4 here and 5 in the underneath. So what happens here when we add the reverse keyword is that, okay, so our browser just changed the height a bit. Okay, so now we have 1 2 3 4 5, and if we do the row reverse, now the 1 is starting from the horizontal side but the right hand side. So 1 2 3 4 5, so it's reverts in a way in the horizontal axis. So similarly we have the same property for column as well. So by default we have column 1 2 3 4 5, but if we do the reverse here, then 5, the 5th column should be at the top here. So, one and such application of row reverse is the right alignment of the nav bars you may have seen. So let's serve it 70 50 75. Okay, so nav bars like this home, about, services, contact, you could make it with the row reverse property using the flex. but there are more flex properties that we will talk about in a while that do the same thing. So now there's another thing which is basically the same thing that we have talked about here, but it's basically a shortcut way of doing both this and this. The flex wrap and flex direction property can be done in one line as well. So I prefer writing them explicitly like this, but there is a shortcut way as well which is used to do the same thing. So the flex flow property. So the first keyword here is the direction, which is for example row, and the other is wrap. So basically it can be row reverse as well. It just the all the flex direction properties and the wrap or no wrap goes here. So basically it does the same work as those two. So if I do this and let's check, so it has the basically row attribute and it is also having the wrap attribute.